Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley and welcome to today's live stream. I am so excited to be announcing that we're doing Paste Palooza again, which means over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna have tons of education using my pastes. At the beginning of the year, we did tons of education using Solar Paste, and now we're moving into doing more education using Lunar Paste. I feel like sometimes we buy supplies and maybe we're a little bit uncomfortable to get them out, or we want to keep them because we're kind of precious about them and making sure they last a long time. But this is really all about teaching you tons of techniques so you feel inspired to create with your products. That is always the goal, for you to get your stuff out and actually create with it. So to go along with this session of Lunar Paste lessons, we are launching 8 brand new Lunar Paste colors, as well as 3 new stencils that are beautiful and are great for summer crafting. So without further ado, let's dive into these new colors so I can show you them, and then we'll get into crafting. Now, as you guys know, we've been expanding and kind of reimagining the Stellar ink line. And with that comes different colors that we brought into the line. So these 8 new Lunar Paste colors are brand new colors from the Stellar ink line that we are bringing into the Lunar Paste line, which is so exciting. And this rainbow altogether is a really great, bright, summery rainbow, which I think you guys are gonna have a ton of fun creating with. So here are the 8 swatches of colors, and we're gonna also run through them individually so you guys can see them beautifully as well. Now, the difference between Lunar Paste and taking a white metallic paste and mixing your reinkers in is that each one of these has a different color mica powder inside of them. That means that when they tilt, you're not gonna see like a white haze, you're gonna see the actual color. This also means that they are super opaque, so you can see the actual color on black and dark colored cardstocks, instead of just seeing a white haze or shine on top of your color. So it was always super important to me to have the different color micas inside of here, so they're very opaque and you can use them on white and black cardstocks. And also you get the true rich and intense color. If you tried making these colors with just reinkers in white metallic paste, you would need a ton of reinkers to get them even anywhere near this dark. So I absolutely love these brand new colors, and let's dive into them one by one. So first off, we have Red Flag. Red Flag is one of my new favorite red inks. It's kind of like the perfect bright cherry or apple red. It's got a little bit of orange into it, but it makes it very, very bright, which I really love about this Red Flag color. You can see that shine is amazing. And I also love to look at the colors compared to all the other colors in the Lunar Paste line to make sure you guys know what you're getting into when you buy it, and make sure that it's different enough from what you have in your collection. So you can see Game Over, Love Struck, and Bee Sting were all very different. These two were a lot more kind of like pinkish red colors. Bee Sting is more of like a deeper red color, and Red Flag is a very bright cherry red. Very different from all the other Lunar Pastes that are red in the line, which is amazing. So next we have Stupid Cupid. I'm obsessed with Stupid Cupid. It's this really great kind of corally color. You can see that shine is amazing when you tilt it inside of that light. So very different color from the rest of the pinks in the lines. Let me show you here. So of course you can see Prom Queen is a very hot pink. Rosy Cheeks is a little bit more of like a dirty pink color. And Stupid Cupid is a lot brighter and warmer of a pink. Again, a lot more corally, which I think really fills in the line nicely. And if you have Tickled Pink, which was my scrapbook.com exclusive, it's no longer available, but I wanted to put it on this swatch just so you can see how it very much so still differs. Tickled Pink is a much cooler pink color than all the rest of them. This is Buzzkill. I'm obsessed with Buzzkill. It is that nice light yellow color, but it is absolutely beautiful. Again, it almost looks like a snowy kind of yellow. Then we're gonna look at that swatch with Slippery When Wet, Shooting Star, and Buzzkill. And again, you can see they're very different. Slippery When Wet is almost like a dirty mustard color. Shooting Star is a lot brighter and bolder of a yellow. And Buzzkill is a little bit more pastel, again, more of an icy kind of snowy, bright yellow color, which I love. Moving on into 4, which is a great color in the Stellar line. And now we have it in the Lunar Paste line, and I'm so obsessed with it. It's like a deep kind of avocado color almost. It is really, really gorgeous. And then let's look at it compared to the rest of the greens in the line. You can see Fake Plant is a lot more of a yellowy, kind of warmer tone of green. Later Gator is a lot cooler and lighter. And 4 is kind of cool and a little bit darker, more of like an army avocado kind of green. Really beautiful. I've been waiting for this one. This one is called High Tide, possibly one of my favorite colors in both of the lines. It is absolutely gorgeous and so great to have in the Lunar Paste line. I love how bright and teal that color is. And compared to all the rest of the colors like Tropical Tango, you can see is much darker. Minty Fresh is much cooler of a color, whereas High Tide is a little bit warmer. It's like Tropical Tango's younger sister, I always say. A lot brighter of a color, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Moving on in, we have Siren Song, which is one of the new stellar colors that we are bringing into the Lunar line, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a mermaid kind of teal color. It is the perfect ocean color, which I love. And then let's compare this. We have a lot of blues in the Lunar line, and this isn't even all of them. We have Breakup Blue, No Diving, and Midnight Snack. You can see these are all very kind of cool toned blues. Then moving on into Clear Skies, which leans a little bit more of a teal. And then we have Siren Song, which is this kind of greener blue color. It's looking more green on camera, but I swear it's a little bit more blue than that. If you've used the ink, you know, but it is absolutely stunning. Moving into Pampas. I love Pampas so much. It is this cool toned, icy kind of purple color, almost like a lavender. It's absolutely stunning. And then let's set this off to the side because we also have 100% Juice, which is in that same purple family, but 100% Juice is a lot more of a warm toned purple, almost like a grape juice color. It is absolutely gorgeous. Really stunning. I love these purple colors. So if you are a fan of purple, you're going to love this launch. And of course you can see the comparison here. This is what Crown Me looks like next to Pampas. Completely different. Crown Me is a lot darker, but again, they really go together nicely being those cool toned purples. And then Triple Berry next to 100% Juice, you can see is like the lighter version of 100% Juice. It is absolutely gorgeous and works really well next to that 100% Juice color. I love it. All of these colors really complete the line so nicely, and I think you're gonna be excited to have them in your collection. All right, next let's jump into the stencils. So this first stencil is called Whimsy Flowers, and look at how gorgeous that looks. So this is a 3-piece layering stencil set, and it's gonna create this really beautiful flower garden kind of look. We're gonna be creating some samples like this in today's live, using some of the new Lunar Pastes, but check that out. Absolutely stunning. I even created one on darker colored cardstocks using those Lunar Pastes from today, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Really, really beautiful colors on top of there. I think you guys are going to absolutely love the Whimsy flower stencil so much. We've been needing a new floral stencil for a while, so I'm so glad we're able to kind of rejuvenate with some floral stencils here, and I love these playful looking florals. Then we have this one, which is called Painted Petals. Take a look at that. What I love so much about the Painted Petals stencil is, look, a lot of people, I've seen kind of dahlia stencils that look like this before, but these ones have kind of like a rough kind of watercolor edge to them. They're really cool and unique. It's a little bit more of kind of a grungy, imperfect effect, but I love it. It makes it look like you painted these flowers when you stencil them down using the Lunar Pastes, and I think you're going to absolutely love this. And this is using all of those new Lunar Paste colors kind of blended together really beautifully to create that background. So again, check that out. It's really cool because you get that kind of grungy, imperfect kind of painted effect all throughout those petals. And then we're jumping right in, with this one, which is called Checkered. And Checkered is kind of a continuation between the polka dot stencil that we just recently did, where you can kind of layer them on top of each other and get a 3D effect, or you can shift and move them around and create different checkered and gridded patterns. So let's open this one up so you guys get an idea of what it actually looks like inside of here. And you're gonna have layer 1, which is the largest checkered pattern. Then you're gonna have layer 2, which is down 1 step, layer 3, which is down 1 more step, and then layer 4, which is down even 1 more step. So you get a whole different array of these checkered patterns all throughout, and you can really create some amazing and beautiful patterns with it. But what I think is so cool is, like, this stencil set is so versatile because you can use just this one layer of the checkers by itself, Or you can go in and like layer these smaller ones in between that layer, or even go in and layer this layer on top with a different color ink afterwards and kind of shift them around. So you really have a lot of different creativity when using these stencils like this that just have a bunch of different sizes of the basic shapes. It's always great to have basic pattern builders like this, and I'm so glad that we could introduce Checkered into the line so you guys can have even more patterns to play with that are really, really fun like this. If you guys don't have the polka dot stencil, I wanted to bring this out and show this as well, because this is another one too, in case you're interested in that awesome checkered idea. The polka dots is very similar. We just recently came out with this one. It has large polka dots, then down one step even more, and then the smallest little polka dots. And again, so versatile because you can use these smaller ones by themselves, you can use the large, any size by themselves, but you can also move and shift them in between each other to create different polka dot patterns that you might not usually be able to create with just one of these stencils alone. So I love these sort of pattern builders, and we probably will have a couple more come out to finish off the collection so you guys have some really great basic patterns to choose from like these. So really happy to have that brand new checkered stencil in the line. And then here is one pattern that I created with the checkered stencil. So I used a couple different colors of ink on top of a colored cardstock, and then I went in and used a little bit of that high tide lunar paste on top to create that really gorgeous shine. And yes, you can definitely mix the squares and circles too to get some even cooler pattern builders. So now that we are all done showing the products, I hope you guys enjoyed the brand new 8 colors and the stencils. Let's go in and craft using the lunar pastes. Now I'm not gonna do anything too crazy in today's video, but I am gonna show you 2 different of my favorite ways to apply the lunar paste down to your projects. And of course, in future videos, we're gonna dive way further into these pastes and how to use them on your crafting projects. So let's get into it. Whenever I'm working with a lot of paste like this, I like to work directly on my craft sheet. So here I'm using a glass craft mat from Glassboard Studios, and that is my favorite work surface to craft on with anything kind of messy like pastes. I'm going to use a little bit of mint tape to tape down my stark white cardstock. And let's start off using the Painted Petals stencil. Love this one for just doing nice basic backgrounds all throughout. I'm gonna go in here with a little bit of my mint tape, and we'll use that to hold the stencil right in place as we do our paste. All right, so whenever I do a paste background like this, I'm gonna show you how to kind of blend colors together seamlessly. So let's start off with a little bit of red flag. And we're gonna kind of create a nice rainbow color assortment with all the different colors that we have down here. So I'm gonna grab kind of a glob of each one of the colors that I wanna use, and don't be afraid to add quite a bit down onto the surface. So like about that much is probably good. Then I'll wipe off my palette knife. Then let's go into a little bit of Stupid Cupid. Grab a little bit more and paste that down to the surface. And if you haven't used Lunar Paste before, this is gonna be a great resource for you. Lunar Paste is a lot different than most texture pastes on the market, but it's more creamy and kind of buttery consistency than a lot of the other texture pastes on the market. But we still nailed the consistency down, so it won't seep underneath your stencils if you're using it properly, but we wanted it to be easy to spread like butter so that it can get all of the details in your stencil and go through really nice and smooth and easily. All right, then we'll go in with a little bit of high tide and mix that right in with that yellow. This color is gorgeous. I always say you're not supposed to have favorites, but this one might be one of my favorites. Move on into a little bit of Siren Song. Why not? We will go in with a little bit of Pompous. Yes, lots of you guys. Debbie says they're very creamy, love Simon's pastes, love the texture, goes on so easily, says Lisa. I know, they are amazing. The chemist at Ranger, his name is Brian, he nailed this formula when we first were trying it. And just the consistency is amazing for stenciling. But again, sometimes I find some pastes are a little bit too buttery that they go underneath. So that's what I love about these, is they're just thick enough that they still capture all the detail without going under. So this is from the Paste tool set. It comes with a palette knife and 2 spreaders here. And I love these large paste spreaders because this is what we're gonna take and go right across the surface of our background. And I'm not pressing super hard. I'm going pretty gently across the surface, and I'm just going to spread this across my stencil. And as I do it, I just move a little bit up and down to cover the the whole background, and that will also kind of help blend the colors together a little bit. Now, I don't want to work this in too much. I want to keep that rainbow of colors intact. So I'm going to set this off to the side. It still has a lot of paste on it, so we'll use that in just a second. And then we will lift off that stencil and check that out. I mean, look at that. Amazing. It really captures all of the details so beautifully, but gives you a really great amount of texture on your surface. All right, so let's set that off to the side, and we're going to clean off our stencil and continue moving because there's a lot more we can do with the paste we have going on here. So first off, there's a little bit of paste on our surface. I'm gonna show you guys, you can easily water down your paste with a little bit of water here. I'm gonna go in with my palette knife and just kind of move these around a little bit, get them kind of blending. And then what I'm gonna do is grab a piece of black cardstock, and I'm just gonna take this and kind of dip it right into the cardstock. Now, there's not a ton going on here. We've got a little bit of paste, so I'm just gonna kind of dip it and lift and keep moving it around. Now, it doesn't look like much right now because it's still sopping wet, but we'll take this cleanup and set it off to the side for a little bit later. All right, now let's go in with a little bit more water. And again, I always like to start my cleanups with some paper towels, so I'll clean off my tools, clean off my glass mat, and again, that glass board from Glassboard Studios. If you guys don't have one, I've got it linked down below, and I have a coupon code down there too for you guys. But it is by far the best work surface that I use. It's just so easy to work on and clean up after yourself. So I'll wipe off my stencil, and then once it's most of the way clean, I'll take my cloth. I just like to use a microfiber cloth from Amazon, and I just wipe it off more thoroughly, and I find that that gets a lot of the rest of the paste off and gets more into the details. The reason I don't use this right away though is because it gets a little bit crusty if you try cleaning off a lot of paste with it. If it's just the remnants, I have one kind of dedicated to just wiping off stencils and stuff like that. I want to show you what the paste also looks like on black cardstock. So again, we're going to go in with some mint tape. I'm going to easily hold down my black cardstock onto my work surface, just like that. And then I'm going to go in with my painted Petals stencil again. Now that that's all taped down, we can go back in with our paste tool, our scraper tool that still has a lot of the paste on there, and we can go in and scrape this down. Now, a word to the wise here. When you're using your scraper tool, I see a lot of people have a lot of paste on their tool, and they're scraping it, and they're not getting anything, or they're not spreading the paste as much as they want to. That's because you're using the tool at too upright of an angle. If you have a lot of paste down on it like this, to spread that paste across, you want to go more down towards the surface like this, and that way you're going to actually spread the paste across that surface. Okay? The upward angle is going to lift the paste off and smooth it out. The downward angle is going to apply more paste down onto your craft project. So that's the basics of using this scraper tool, and that's really helpful to know as you spread it across so you get tons of control. You don't want to overwork the paste and press too hard, so that tip is really helpful because you can go through lightly at an angle and really put a lot more paste through that stencil. All right, let's lift this off and look. Again, crisp, clean details all throughout the stencil and a really beautiful background. I mean, that stands out so gorgeous against the black cardstock. When it is nice and thick like that, the Lunar Paste does amazing on the black. It's absolutely stunning. Again, I'm going to set that off to the side. We are going to easily clean off our surface here with a little bit more water, and then go in and do that more thorough wipe. And whenever I do a background like that where I use a lot of paste, you just want to use up all of the paste on your tool. And so this is a good time to go in with your tool and just again, use it. You can literally put it at like a flat angle towards your surface and just discard any of the excess paste onto your white cardstock. That will get rid of any of the excess. But literally, when I did that, I went straight flat down to the surface, just like that, and that is gonna overlay any of your excess. And now this is going to be a great piece of cardstock to die cut from. What I love so much about it is it's going to be nice and shiny metallic. And you might be like, oh, well, you know, why don't you just use a regular piece of metallic cardstock, right? But the awesome part about this is you can create whatever blends you want. So usually metallic cardstock doesn't have that really awesome kind of rainbow blend all throughout it. It also sometimes is a little bit too shiny for my liking. And so this has a nice luster to it, but it's not, you know, too overwhelming and kind of gaudy. And then let's talk about drying. So this is always kind of a hot topic because everyone's climate is going to be a little bit different and everyone's climate is going to dry the paste a little bit different. Of course, if you live in Arizona, paste is gonna dry really quickly. I would say usually you're gonna have about 30 minutes to an hour of dry time, depending on how thick you apply it. But again, it just depends on where you live. The awesome part about these pastes though, is they are heat stable. So you can go in with your heat tool and just easily heat this across the surface. I love this Ranger heat tool because I like to keep the heat moving across the surface. If you just hold it in one area, you still do have the chance of bubbling your paste up. So make sure to keep your heat tool moving and have the heat dispersed across the surface rather than keeping it in one area on your card. So this will help it speed along the drying process. That way it will only take like a minute or two as you're drying it rather than like 20 to 30 minutes. So this is very, very helpful. I also like to make sure that I hold my background off of my surface. That will help with drying as the heat can easily pass through it rather than being stuck on your surface. And I also like to dry the bottom of my cardstock too. That helps dry any of the layers of paste that's underneath the top layer. That way you're drying the whole thing and not just the top layer. I love that you can heat it and keep moving on with your project and not have to wait all that time. And you can see once that paste is completely dry, all of that shine comes back and it is absolutely stunning on top of your card surface. I love it just like that. And I want to show a fun technique to be able to use with your inks. So of course you could just leave this background as is. I think it's absolutely stunning. But let's go in with our sticky mat from Altenew, and I'm going to place this down so I can do some easy blending on the surface here. What's so awesome about this is that all of these Lunar Pastes actually have a coordinating stellar ink to match the different colors. So now we can go in and kind of absolutely match our colors with the inks here. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of Pampas, and I'm using my small Simon Hurley blending brush, and I'm just going to go right onto the surface and blend a little bit of that ink color in the background. I'm starting off pretty light. I don't want to go too heavy-handed, and you can work with as much color as you want to. But the awesome part about this is that the Lunar Paste is actually going to resist it. So you don't have to worry about the ink messing up your Lunar Paste at all. Because the Lunar Paste has that kind of glossy surface, it's almost like a kind of plasticky coating on top of it. So it's going to resist any of the ink that you put on top of it, which is amazing. Next, let's go in with a little bit of Siren Song. Bring in my blending brush. Here I'm just going to tap this off to the side to make sure we don't have too much ink on here. And we'll go in and blend that out. And again, I'm going kind of lighter than the actual color usually is. That's what's really awesome about these blending brushes, is with the handle at the top of the surface, again, you always have that control as you're blending. Instead of the handle being off to the side and kind of bending as you're trying to blend here, you get that control, so you can decide how much color you want to apply down onto the surface. All right, then let's go in with a little bit of High Tide. I have one brush dedicated to just High Tide. That's how much I love the color so much. And I'm gonna go in here and blend it right on. And you can see these just blend together beautifully on top of that stark white cardstock. And they look gorgeous. And it almost is giving the pastes now like a tone-on-tone effect and kind of letting the colors blend a little bit more in the background. But when you tilt this in the light, it's still gonna have all that beautiful shine. All right, then we're gonna go in with a little bit of Buzzkill. We're gonna blend on top of that yellow. Oh, and that looks gorgeous. I love that yellow Buzzkill ink. It is like, again, just the perfect light kind of buttery, icy yellow. So again, just go in with a really light hand on here and blend across. And then last but not least, we are gonna go in with a little bit of Red Flag down at the bottom to finish it off. Red Flag again, it's growing on me. It's becoming one of my favorite red colors just because it's so bright and cheerful. You guys know I love my bright colors. And so this red is stunning. And I'm gonna go back in with just a little bit of just my dry microfiber cloth, and I'm gonna go in and wipe off that background. That's gonna remove any of the excess ink that's sitting on top of the surface of that Lunar Paste so that it can still shine beautifully. And look at that. So now we have all the coordinating colors on top. It looks tone on tone, but yet it has all of that amazing colorful mica shine on top. Absolutely stunning, and you get all of that amazing texture all throughout with those dahlia leaves as well. So, so beautiful. So I love that tone on tone look, but again, instead of just having to do it on a piece of, colored cardstock that's only one color, the awesome part is you can put the ink over top of any area you want and make it match that color that's underneath. So it doesn't need to just be one color across the surface. Next, I'm going to go in with the Whimsy Flower Stencil. And again, this one is a 3-piece layering stencil set. So you're going to have the layer with the flowers, you're going to have the leaves, and you're going to have the centers of the florals. So whatever you're going to put a thick layer of paste on, because we're going to do the paste a little bit thicker this time, you are going to want to save that layer for last. Okay, so we're going to do our blending on our cardstock, but we're going to save our paste layer for the last. Now on all of these 3 stencils, you're going to have little etched markings that say Whimsy Flowers 2. This one says Whimsy Flowers 3. So look for those as you're blending to make sure you can read them and that they're in the same orientation every time. That's how you know you have your stencil in the right orientation to line things up. Then I'm going to go right in with my leaves, place that right down, and I'll just place it into the Altenew sticky mat to hold it in place while we do our stenciling. Then I'm going to go in with a little bit of ink. I'm going to use a little bit of Later Gator and my small Simon Hurley blending brushes and just go in and blend these leaves all in. This is super easy to do. And again, I just love these blending brushes. They get into those details so nicely. And again, you have all the control over how much color you add and how dark you want the color to be with these ergonomic brushes, which is amazing. So just go throughout and blend those leaves in. All right, and once that's all blended out, then let's go in with a darker color. Here I'm going to use a little bit of fake plant, and I'm just going to go in with that same brush and just go in right onto the edge of the leaves. And I'm just going in on like the center edge of the leaves. And again, I love these small ones because you can use sort of the edge of that small brush to get into the little details like that and really give some nice shading and depth to your images. So again, just kind of the center of those leaves is where we want it to be, nice and dark. All right. Once that's all complete, I just like to kind of wipe off my stencil a little bit with all of that ink on it to make sure we don't get fingerprints everywhere. And we'll lift it off. And now we have that first layer with all of the leaves completed. Now again, you're going to want to save the layer you're doing the paste with for last. So next I'm going to go in with the Whimsy Flowers 3. Look, I'm going to make sure we can read that etched marking in the corner. I'm going to place my leaf stencil right on top of the next stencil that we want to use. And then I'm going to look through my stencil, like you can see, and I'm going to line it up with the leaves that we did on that last layer. So do you see that? Nice and easy to line that design up. And because we have the layer that we want to use underneath, once we lift off our stencil on top, we now have this stencil perfectly in place for us to work with. Okay? Really great tip. Love that for lining up your stencils easily. And then we'll go in with a little bit of Slip It Wet. And we're going to go in and blend that out. And this is going to give us a nice mustardy color center for all of our florals. Really easy. These just get into those details so good. All right, wipe that off, lift it off, and there we go. Now, lastly, let's go in and lift this off because we want to do a little bit of paste. And again, I always like to move it off of anything like a sticky mat like that and bring it onto my glass surface whenever I'm doing paste. So I'll go in, I'm going to bring in a little bit of my mint tape. I'm going to place that right onto the back. Hold this guy down, and then we'll go in with our last layer, this layer here, Whimsy Flowers 1. And again, I'll take one of the layers we did in the past. So I'm just going to take the leaf layer, and again, I'll just line this up with that layer of the leaves. And when we lift that layer off, all of our florals are going to be lined up perfectly underneath it. Now that's just one way to line up the stencils. You could also line up the stencils in like a corner, like in a Misty or a stamp wheel. That's really helpful too, because all of the edges will line up the stencils. Or if you do it on a piece of 6x6 cardstock, then it will line up perfectly if you just line it up with the edges. All right, and for this, I want to show you how to do kind of selective lunar pasting. And to do this, I like to use my new Silicone Paste tool set. Now these keep selling out. You guys keep selling these guys out because they are absolutely incredible. I think they're still available at Ranger right now. They're sold out at Scrapbook.com, but sign up for notifications if you're a Scrapbook.com shopper, or grab them at Ranger if you want to. They are absolutely amazing. It comes in a pack of 2 with kind of a medium size and a nice small size that fits inside of details or the jars. What makes these different than any other kind of silicone tools like this is that the silicone is a lot thicker at the tip right here. Okay, so it's not as flexible or have like as much give as some tools you might find on Amazon. So I really like that because it's almost like a paintbrush and it's got some really nice spring to it as you're gonna apply your colors down into your projects. This is great for bigger areas that you wanna spread across, and this one is great for small details. And they are a really great price as well, which I love. And I love that the small brush can easily fit inside your jars. So I just grab a little bit at a time here, and I'm just going to kind of hold my stencil down in the area that I want to stencil. You don't want to leave it up like this because sometimes like things can get underneath your stencils then, just because of the way that it's not fully secured down there. And then I'm going to go in and swipe this across the surface to fill that color in nice and easily. And again, I'm going pretty light-handed. And as we did earlier, the same thing kind of applies to this tool set as the scraper tool, okay? So let me show you. When you go in with these tools, again, I find that people are going at an upright angle like this, kind of trying to dig out your stencil. And that's fine if you want to kind of start removing paste, right? But if you want to apply the paste down, go at more of that downward angle, and that's going to be the way to kind of paint your paste on. You can go a little bit heavier handed. It's going to give you like a thinner layer and remove more of the paste. If you go lighter handed, it's going to just apply that paste down more thick and still have that really great kind of paint spring to it as you're applying it. That's the difference between a silicone tool like this and a plastic tool. With a silicone tool, you're gonna have more spring and kind of more, less give to the tool, less rigidity to it, I guess. So it almost feels like you're actually going in and painting. So if you struggle with using a palette knife, these kind of silicone tools might be the way to go for you. When I first tried them, it was game changing. It's hard to explain the feeling of them to somebody, but once you try them out for yourself, like it is completely game changing for the world of pastes. Again, I still find reasons to use my scraper tool and my palette knife that's plastic, as you saw earlier, but this is great for things like this where we want to go in and do smaller details. And again, you can go back and forth and get kind of that painterly effect. It's amazing. And then they're silicone, so they clean off really easily. And if you don't clean them off right away, all that paste will just peel off once you're done. So it's amazing. Next, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Stupid Cupid and apply this right down. Again, hold it down with your fingers right where you want to apply that paste. And then we'll go in and lightly just apply this right across the surface. I'm gonna do that floral right there. And then let's do this one right here. That's gonna go really nicely with the red. And I'm not being too cautious, like it can still blend in with the other colors, but I do want each floral to kind of have its pretty distinct color here. And you just get this nice thick application of paste with lots of control through the stencil. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Buzzkill next. Let's bring that up here and do a little bit over in this area. Oh, and I just love these colors together. Again, that downward angle is gonna apply that paste nicely through. And last but not least, we'll go in with a little bit of Pampas, and I'm gonna bring that right through to finish it off. And again, go at that angle to apply it nice and thick. All right, let's lift this off. Oh, and I just love that. Look at how beautiful that is. You get such amazing blends. Now it did rip my cardstock just the tiniest little bit down there. That's because if you leave something on for a little bit too long and you try peeling it off, sometimes the stencil will start kind of like adhering in those areas. So if you just talk a little bit less, because I talked a lot during those, If you talk a little bit less as you're applying it through, you will have less kind of tearing underneath the cardstock, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Now I applied that paste thick like we did earlier. This is gonna take a little bit of time to dry. So we're gonna set this off to the side to let it dry. But I love that technique where you use a couple different layers of ink for your layering stencil. And then for the last layer of the stencil, you can apply a nice layer of paste throughout it. And you'll get a nice thick, bold layer of color that is absolutely gorgeous and shiny and beautiful. And yes, all this one needs is a sentiment and your card is completely finished. It really stands out on its own and is absolutely stunning. Then let's go in here. Let's see. We could try. Look, this is our pickup. You guys see that? Super cool. So once it's dry, all of that shine comes back to it. So like these kind of pieces where you're cleaning up can be really great background to die cut from. And so like, let's say we still have, we still have all this paste that's on our stencil. We can add more down. So like I want some of that red and yellow in here. So I'm just gonna go in and apply even more of that color down from that stencil. So don't be afraid to like use up some of these backgrounds. If this kind of thing isn't for you, just clean this off. But I always like to show how to use the excess that you're cleaning off, because I know a lot of you guys like to do that. And it's a really fun way to get little pieces to die cut from. And it almost looks like a planet background. Like you could use that for like a space themed card, which would be cool. I'll just bring in a microfiber cloth and you can see once you get most of that paste off, the microfiber is just good at getting all of the extra remnants. The fibers on that cloth just kind of help to get into some of the details a little bit more and get some of that paste off, especially if it's already a little bit dried. And I want to show you a really fun technique using black cardstock, but applying it a little bit thinner. And of course you could use white cardstock for this technique as well, but I find that it really shows up super cool on black. So let's go in with a little bit of that mint tape again. I'm going to tape this right onto the back of our cardstock, and we'll hold it right in place onto our glass mat. Let's start off with the floral layer here. So I'm gonna go in with Whimsy Flowers 1, that first layer, and we will just lay this right down onto our background to start off. And I'm just gonna create kind of a palette of color off to the side. So let's go in here with a little bit of Pampas first, and we'll just apply it nice and thin with our palette knife. You're gonna kind of spread it out across the surface. You don't want a super thick layer of paste right away. You want it to be nice and thin. And a little bit goes a long way with a technique like this. Then we're gonna go in with a little bit of Stupid Cupid. Going with a little red flag. And so right now we're just creating a palette of color. So you'll do this on your craft sheet to create a nice palette that we're gonna pick our colors up from. With this technique, you're gonna grab your blending tool out here and you're gonna either use the flat or the domed blending foams. Either one is gonna work perfectly fine for this technique. And what you're gonna do is take your blending tool and start dipping this right into your paste. So just like that. Now it's good to have a thin layer of paste here because you don't want globs of paste hanging off your tool. That's how it's gonna seep underneath the stencil. You just want kind of a thin layer on top of here and nothing really coming off of the surface. Then you're gonna go in here and you can either do this in a circular motion like that, or you can go in and tap it onto the surface. For these florals, I found that tapping was kind of fun. You get a little bit of a texture because after all, it is texture paste. And so even when you apply it thin like this, you're still gonna get that texture on the surface. It's kind of cool. And so I'm gonna take a little bit of this and go across the surface and choose a couple florals for each color and just tap it right into the surface. Sometimes I find that doing that circular motion helps better. And sometimes I go in with this tapping motion. It just depends on what you prefer for the look of the project. All right, so I think that's good for the pink florals. And if you want to, you can always take more color. And as it's drying, because it dries very quickly, because it's nice and thin, you'll just go back in and you can keep applying color to make it thicker. These will keep layering it up and being nice and thick after a while. So you can layer it up as much as you want to. Next, we're gonna go in and I'm just going to take a little bit of paper towel and I'm just going to wipe off onto the surface so we can move into the next color. Then let's go in with a little bit of red flag and I'm again going to go in and just tap this onto the surface. Now you'll notice they're still opaque. They still got a nice opacity and shine to them, even when applied nice and thin like this. But again, you can apply them a little bit thicker if you want to get more intense shine and color. It just depends on what you want. But I kind of like this look. When you apply it nice and thin like this, it just gives you a much lighter version of the color, especially on black cardstock. If we were doing this on white, it would be a lot brighter right away. I'm gonna wipe that off until we kind of remove it enough so we can move into the next color. And again, you can go back in if you want to with a little bit of a thicker layer. Use up some of that paste and tap it on. We'll wipe it off. And just wiping in between layers is just enough to remove that paste so you can move on to the next color. And then we'll do a little bit of high tide next. Oh, and that high tide is gorgeous. Once we're done with those colors, we'll lift this off and check that out. We are already starting off with some beautiful color on our black cardstock. And again, it's much more muted. If you want to, you can keep adding layers and you're gonna get more intense and bold colors. But when you apply it thin like this, of course, you're not gonna get as much opacity as when you apply it super thick. Because it's so thin though, you can go in and easily dry it. And this is gonna take seconds to dry rather than a long time because we've applied it so thin onto our cardstock. It's already nice and dry and we can keep moving on with our project. So for the next layer, we're gonna go in with the Whimsy Flowers 2, which is those leaves. Again, we can do that same lining up technique where we take our last layer that we just did, place it on top. That way we can look through. I have to put my head over top of it to see. I think we got that down perfect. Then for our stenciling, I'm gonna use 4, which is this gorgeous dark rich green color. I'm gonna grab a little bit and place it nice and thin onto my palette knife. Then I'm going to grab my same blending sponge. We don't need to move to a new one. You can just, again, keep wiping off in between that color. And we're moving into a darker color, so it doesn't really matter here. And we're just gonna go in and I'm going to just tap this all across the surface. Again, with this layer, we don't need to be super careful because all we're doing is just one color across all of the leaves. Get that nice green color down onto the surface. Lift that off and that is so stunning. Now for this layer, I'm gonna use a little bit of Buzzkill, this gorgeous yellow color, and do a nice thin layer of yellow for the center of the florals. So just tap that through. All right. Beautiful. And I mean, come on. That is incredible. So that is using all of your pastes super thin, using your blending sponge. You can easily get it through that stencil and you will get a really, really beautiful look like this. And again, when you look at it straight on, it doesn't have as much opacity as if you applied it thick. But what's awesome is, again, it's not just white mica inside of there that you're dyeing a color. It's different colors of mica. So what's amazing is that when you tilt it in the light, you still see all of those beautiful mica colors individually. So really, really stunning on top of that black cardstock. And you get such an amazing result. I just can't stop moving it back and forth like this. Let's get into this. I had some ideas for this, but like this kind of thing, I want to keep just plain and simple because I love the background so much. So I think something with this that could be really fun is using just some of these dies to cut it out and kind of frame it. I think I'm going to use one of these arches. Let's use this. I think that could be really pretty. I'm going to use my Platinum 6 die cutting machine and I'm just going to run this right through. And again, the awesome part about doing such a thin background like this with your blending tools is it dries so quickly. So we're able to go in and die cut it like literally right after it's dry. Oh my gosh, that is incredible. And then of course you could use this frame too for another project. Like that is so pretty on its own as well. Beautiful. Now one thing that I think that I want to do here is I'm also going to grab another one of the dies, I think one of the larger ones. And what's so fun about a die set like this is you can actually make your own frames as well. So I'm going to take both of these dies and layer them up right next to each other. So they're kind of like centered. Once they're nice and centered in place, you can go in with a little bit of mint tape and just use that mint tape to hold it down. I'm just going to cut this out of a little bit of my stark white cardstock. You could use it out of whatever color you want. And I'm excited to show you guys this. I haven't done this in a long time, but I'm gonna love a frame around this because I think it will create a really fun effect. Pull that out and look, it just creates this really nice thin frame we can put right around our design, just like that. The other idea that I had was to show you guys how to make metallic cardstock, which I think we're gonna do right now. So I'm gonna do this with Buzzkill. Let's use a little bit of yellow, almost as if it's like a gold color. You could of course do this with some of the golds we have from the line as well. And I'm just going to literally take this, I'm gonna bring it on my finger here, and I'm just going to swipe this all around the frame. Now you could do this when the paper is still intact and do a whole sheet of cardstock just like this. But I'm just doing the frame because I just want to do a small amount and I don't need the whole thing done. And again, because I'm working on my glass craft mat, this is totally okay and it's gonna clean up really easily afterwards. But a really little bit goes a super long way when you're doing something like this. Like I'm just taking the tiniest little bit on my finger and just going right through and swiping it on. And now the awesome part about this is it's gonna match the centers of the flowers for our background so we can make it match perfectly. And I also love that sometimes with metallic cardstock, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but sometimes I have this thing with metallic cardstock where it almost sometimes takes over the card too much because sometimes the metallic is just too shiny. Like you would think that that's not possible, but sometimes the gold is just like too gold and it doesn't match the gold that I used. So this is cool because you can make it whatever color you want, but it's still gonna have that like fun metallic shine on it, which I think is awesome. But yeah, it's important to not forget you can apply the pastes in different methods. So we'll explore this more later during Paste Palooza during a lot of the videos, but just using your finger to apply paste on things like a frame or kind of flat on your project can be really cool to make things match and create your own type of embellishments that aren't necessarily from a pack or from regular metallic cardstock. You can kind of think outside of the box using the paste rather than just applying them through a stencil. So then we're gonna go in with our tape runner, apply that all over the back of our background. And then I'm gonna center that right onto the front of my card. And I'm just going to glue this right down. And yeah, it just gives it a little something. It's better than just, you know, just a basic white background. I thought that this frame would be kind of fun. And I love that it has that little bit of shine to it as well. And of course, if you don't love this yellow around it, if yellow isn't your thing, you could have done this in any color you wanted. We have a lot of golds in the collection that have already come out too. So if you are more into gold and things like that, you could have added that around the border. But I love this because it brings in that yellow color that we used in the centers of the florals, brings in a little bit of a kind of a bright and happy vibe to the card. And it's a really fun way to kind of embellish sort of a frame or different embellishments on your card to bring them to life with that paste. Now let's go in and finish off this card. And to do this so simply, I am going to use some dies from my big and bold words sentiments that I just created with Spellbinders. This set is awesome. It has a big happy birthday, a big hello, and a big thank you. So let's try these out on this card. We could do thank you kind of front and center. So we could do that. I like thank you. Very pretty. I also like hello. You know what? I think I like hello better. I'm gonna pull out my clear foam tape. So this clear foam tape is back in stock at Ranger. I know it keeps selling out over and over and over. It's back in stock at Ranger. You can check for it now. So if you've wanted to grab your clear foam tape, now is your time. I love this stuff. I actually keep 2 of my rolls inside of these craft stacks from Spellbinders. Because the edges are a little bit sticky on this clear foam tape, I love storing them inside of here. It fits 2 rolls at once, but that way with the lid on it, it keeps all of the dust and debris from your craft room out of the surface of your container. So I really like that. And we can go in with a little bit of clear foam tape to pop this up. I also love using these Spellbinders shears. They have some of the best scissors for cutting nonstick tape, I find. I know it's kind of a weird category of scissors to want for just cutting your tape, but really I find a lot of foam tapes are way too sticky to be cut down with regular scissors. I don't find that too much with this, but I find that these shears do an amazing job. So between the clear foam tape, the craft stacks, and these shears, you are good to go. And this adhesive is amazing. And I'm gonna use my little tweezers to hold this front and center onto my card. Make sure it's nice and centered in place. And then we'll place it right down. And here we go. The awesome part about this clear foam tape is when you look at the side, especially on a black piece of cardstock like this, you can't really see it. You pretty much see through it. So it's absolutely amazing. I love that it is completely see-through. So that way it's almost like magic when it's floating on your card. And of course, if you put white foam tape behind this black sentiment, you'd be able to see it all. So having something just kind of floating like magic with that foam tape is absolutely amazing. One of my favorite parts about the clear foam tape. So this was a really, really fun card. Applying the Lunar Paste a little bit thinner using our blending tools. That way you see all that amazing mica on top of the Whimsy florals. And then finishing it off with one of the big bold sentiments and a frame with our essential arches is absolutely amazing. To cut this background out and finish off the card, I want to use this nested postage labels and tag die set. I think I want to use this size right here. And then I'll run this right through my Platinum 6 to die cut it out nice and easily. And I have been loving this postage shape for a lot of card making projects lately. Postage is like super popular, and I just love the fun and playful edge that it gives onto our project. You can see even when we've applied our paste thicker like this, because this was one of our thicker paste backgrounds, you can see it still die cuts perfectly and very easy. So you don't need to be worried once your paste is completely dried. Don't worry about running it through your die cutting machine. It die cuts still beautifully through all of that. So to do some stamping to finish off the card, I'm going to use some of the images from the sketched Peonies set. Particularly, I want this little butterfly image. I love this guy. And I want to just use this several times across the card, just in jet black. This is my black Stellar ink in Black Widow. Let's see what that looks like. I mean, that is pretty. I like that. Let's just do black, because that'll make it stand out nicely across the card rather than blending in. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. It's got some really great images inside of the set, and it also has some amazing sentiments. It's just a really great all-around set. So if you've been looking for a good kind of floral stamp set that you can color in, this sketched Peonies set is amazing, but it also has some good sentiments all throughout the set as well. And I love this little butterfly. I use this all the time. I should make a whole set like these kind of butterflies because it's my favorite. It has a coordinating die set that you can purchase from Spellbinders with all the different floral images, the different scripty sentiments, and that little butterfly. And we are gonna die cut this out using our little baby Platinum Scout. I love this guy for little detail work like this. It makes it just so easy. We're gonna run that right through. And for some reason, it's just easier with the Scout. I love it, nice and simple. And the Scout, if you guys don't know, has metal rollers inside of it. So the same metal rollers that are inside of your large, like platinum die cutting machine. So what's awesome about that is it's much smaller, but it still has all the same power as the larger machines. So that's why I love using it. I found that a lot of other little machines like this kind of felt like using a toy for me, and like you weren't really die cutting with it. And so this is by far my favorite little machine. And I have it in this beautiful black color that I designed with Spellbinders, so in case you're interested. And then let's go in with our little postage background here. And I'm going to just adhere that down using a little bit of tape runner all across our surface and adhere that down. So for the sentiment, I'm gonna go in with the sketched Peonies stamp set. And again, I love all these different sentiments in here. Like, you make me smile, the best is yet to come. And then a lot of these scripty sentiments go along with the bold ones, so you can layer them up together. Like, hello friend, it's been too long, thinking of you, brighter days ahead. So I love that they kind of go with each other. I'm gonna do the sending you strength, love, and light. That's really nice. And I'm gonna also do thinking of you along with it, so I can show you what they look like layered together. I usually like to do one of them in a color and then one of them in black. So let's try the thinking of you. I'm gonna use Pompous because that's what I used up here. So it'll coordinate nicely. Gonna go in and stamp that down. Just like that. Let's do it one more time. I want to give it a little bit more pressure. I think I missed the T. So I can go in and stamp that down. Perfect. The sending you strength, love, and light. I'm going to go in with the Stellar ink and the Black Widow. If you need one Stellar ink, definitely go in with Black Widow. It is absolutely amazing. I love how crisp and jet black the Black Widow stamps all the time. I'm going to go in, stamp that right down. Just like that. Love that. So these sentiments that are on the rectangles here don't have any coordinating dies. So I'm just gonna go in with my scissors from Spellbinders and just easily trim right around them. And they're very easy to cut around, just nice and easy rectangles. So it's nice and clean. But I just love these bold, almost like typewriter kind of label maker sentiments. They are so amazing, especially if your card is really bold and colorful. Like, that type of sentiment just stands out on the background so beautifully. Then let's go in, and I'm gonna bring in my thinking of you sentiment. And then I'll bring in the die set that coordinates with the sketch Peonies stamp set. And there is different dies for the scripty sentiments, which I love. And then I'm gonna go in again with my Scout die cutting machine. Again, should we live on the edge here? I'm just gonna line this up, use no tape, and just go in and cut that out. Nice and easy. And there we have our perfectly cut out sentiment. I love those dies for these scripty ones because these ones are definitely harder to cut out. So that will be awesome to have. All right, then I'm going to kind of place this sentiment down a little bit, but I'm not placing it, like I'm not pressing it in place yet. Then I'm gonna go in with the thinking of you sentiment, and I wanna kind of layer this on top of each other. So I'm just gonna place it kind of right on top of where that would be, and it can kind of overlap a little bit with the sentiment below it. So right about there, I think that looks good. And you can see kind of the G and the F and the Y kind of overlap. And I love layering the sentiments up like that. I just think it's beautiful. It's like a really cool kind of stacked effect. So we can lay that down completely now. I mean, that completes the card really nicely, but we can go in now with our butterflies to kind of finish it off. Figure out how to place them first. I think I'll do one down here in this corner. Then I'll do one kind of flying in the center like this, like that. Took us a while to stamp in to get here, but here is the finished card. I'm absolutely obsessed with that. So doing that really great thick layer of all of those blended lunar pastes across the background using our brand new painted Petals stamp set, or using our brand new painted Petals stencil set to get that really awesome effect. And then ink blending over top with all of the coordinating inks gives you a really cool tone on tone effect, but still lets all of those lunar pastes shine beautifully. And then of course, I finished everything off using the Sketch Peonies stamp set for that really great stacked, encouraging, bold sentiment and those really beautiful kind of vintage looking butterflies. I love how this turned out so much. It's bright, cheerful, and I can't wait to send this card out for encouragement. I hope you guys really enjoyed everything throughout today's video, kicking off the launch of the next Paste Palooza with a ton of different paste techniques and 8 brand new colors, as well as some really fun new stencils. We are gonna have so much fun over the course of the next couple of weeks, trying even more techniques using all of the Lunar Pastes, and really diving in to focus on Lunar Paste in particular. I have so many more techniques to share with you guys. This was really just the tip of the iceberg with the Lunar Paste, kind of the most basic things, just putting them through the stencils. And so we're really going to be diving into techniques very soon using all of these. I cannot wait to share a ton more with you. Now remember, everything that I shared in today's video is out right now, and I'll leave links down below. You can check those out. Using those links helps support me, so I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.